All right, looks like we are up and running. We'll give it just a minute to let some people roll in here. If you want to, go ahead and use the chat and drop any comments in there. Talk about the game today. Obviously, excited big W. So drop your thoughts, feelings, anything you want us to talk about. And we'll get to it here in just a few minutes. For those of you keeping track at home too, the Florida State and Oregon State game is currently on right now in the second inning, and it's 7-3 already in the second, so it's going to be a shootout, and Louisville gets the winner of that game in Omaha. So if you want to kind of tune into that in the background, something to keep you occupied on your time for a little bit this evening too.
How fun is that Arkansas LSU game going to be on Saturday?
Mm-hmm. There's going to be some good matchups out there.
Man, oh man, you get a. Well, we'll talk about it here. But that 2016 title rematch going to be fun.
Yeah. Welcome to the Third and Central podcast, the only podcast dedicated solely to the University of Louisville baseball program. This is Matt Sefcovic, and as always, I am joined by Terry Pennington from Inside Louisville Baseball, as the Cards picked up a big 3-2 win today over Miami to clinch their sixth appearance in the College World Series. I want to start off tonight, Terry, by issuing an apology, because last time we recorded, last weekend, I guess, not last time, but last weekend we recorded, I mentioned that Louisville was back where they belong. And I said, we were back in the supers, and that's where the program belongs. And I need to issue an apology because now we are back where we belong, which is in Omaha, and we will be there starting this weekend. Just an incredibly amazing, awesome, all the words you can use to describe Jim Patterson Stadium. It was at its best. It was on full display this weekend. I think all three games were in the top 10 in attendance in stadium history, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But if I know you were there, but out there listening, if you were there, it was just absolutely electric. So we'll jump into that and talk about the rest of the day of college baseball that, like I said, is still going on right now, as we've got a couple games that just started shortly, around about an hour ago. So Terry, I know there's a lot to get into, but how's everything going? How you feeling? Looks like you got a little sun out there, like I did today myself. I was moving around, but sunscreen was not on my mind, so that's one thing that I did not worry about, and I'm going to pay for it tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I do always keep a little sunscreen in my bag for sure, just to try to, um, prevent too much sun damage, right? But yeah, I mean, not always on the front of your mind for sure. But man, what a day out at the ballpark today. I mean, just I'm just so happy for the boys, man. I mean, that's really where I'm just so happy for those kids and their families. Like, it's it's a lot of sacrifice for parents, for families, just as these kids are going through. I mean, it used to be late junior high, but into high school and all the travel ball and all these things just to try to get them noticed and get them out there, and a lot of time, energy, money, all those things, that just go into just getting their kids to college, and to get to see them, kind of show out on the biggest stage is just awesome. That's just really what I was thinking out there today, especially once it was over. Just so happy for the kids and their families.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that stuck out to me the most. After the game, I went down there and hung out for a while, on the first base side of kind of the two stair steps where people stand along the right field line. I'm sure you're probably out there on the field, but it seemed like for the coaches and staff that have been here before, It seemed like this one the smiles were a little bit wider than they were in the past. The hugs were a little bit longer than they were in the past. I think this one was really really sweet. But then for the players that have never experienced this and their families that had never experienced this, you could tell as soon as the team got done, a good majority of them ran straight to their parents. And there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into this. Baseball, it's a long season. You're talking 56 regular games plus postseason, traveling all over the country, and you could tell at that moment it was just like just a huge joy across every one of their faces, from the players, the parents. There were a lot of tears. It was just a really cool moment to see and experience. And then Eddie, coming back across with the trophy, hoisting it, and everybody's chanting his name. You could tell, and he talked about that. We'll get into it, but you could tell that really meant a lot to him, and for a kid that came back, and we've talked about that all year long now at this point in time, to come back. That moment right there was probably worth him deciding to come back to school. So it was just a really cool moment to see that on the field, and how the players and coaches and families, how they all responded. And I know you were probably out in the middle of it, but what kind of was that like for? I know we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but what was that like for you, just kind of being out there with everybody?
Yeah, it was obviously a blast to be able to get out there and watch them celebrate and see the joy that they had earned. And like you're saying, I mean, just to what that feeling must be like for a parent to watch their kids succeed at the thing that they have poured their heart, their soul, blood, sweat, tears, all those things into. um, yeah, how could you not be a little emotional? But I definitely had my eyes well up out there on the field. I mean, I'm trying to shoot photos, but I'm trying to wipe my eyes a few times, and had some great exchanges with some players and some parents out there that just um, that meant a lot to me. And just I just couldn't be. It, it's just such a great program, and it starts from the top down. And Dan's very quick to, he's very humble. He's very quick to deflect off of himself. Um, and I've mentioned to him a couple different times this year about, well, that's typically something that starts from the top down. And he's like, well, no, and he doesn't want to think of it that way, but people follow the leader, and Louisville's, if he's not the best, I mean, he's in that handful. And I've never, I've been very fortunate in my life to play for some great coaches, to be around some, and there's none better than him that I've ever been around in my life. And just when you those first, up until 19, what was it? Just one time that they missed the NCAA tournament, I think, in Dan's tenure, up through 19.
That sounds right.
And so you you almost don't even know. I don't want to say you don't know what hardship is, because there's some rough regional, super regional, whatever, Omaha. There's some rough losses in there, and obviously there is a missed tournament in there, but I think this one felt sweeter because of the way the last two, obviously there's a super there in 22, but 21, 23, 24, Dan does a really good job of hiding, or he has done a very good job of hiding how hard that was on him. But the last couple weeks, he's let you behind the curtain a little bit on just how tough that was on him. And I think it just makes it so much sweeter when you can kind of get back to the peak. When he has used the word valley, so I'll use that as well. Like, when you've been in the valley, it makes the peak that much sweeter. And I think that's really what today was all about for me, is just watching those players get to the peak. And there's still baseball to be played, but
Yep.
this one feels sweet. And I like I said, I couldn't be happier for the kids, the families, the coaches. Like, they deserve this, and it's just what a ride, and I can't wait for it to continue in the mecca of college baseball. Man, it's calling their name, so it's gonna be a good week.
Yeah, and you talk about Dan kind of, letting the fan base and really the rest of the country, because I mean this stuff gets posted all over social media, kind of in his personal life, and I mean how raw he was, to be frank. I mean he was pretty open about how the last couple of years went, and that's going back to the regional down in Nashville. He kind of started talking about it a little bit and then went into more detail this weekend. And I'm not going to try to paraphrase because Dan is such a great speaker. Go watch Terry's videos, and then you'll kind of see what we're talking about, because he really opened up quite a bit and talked about his wife and his faith and how he got through these past couple years. So do yourself a favor if you haven't, and go listen to those, because I think you'd really appreciate kind of how Dan was today and last week after the regional also. So let's jump into some game action. Let's talk about the ACC a little bit, because it's a tough day for the ACC. Obviously, Louisville won. They beat Miami, who was another ACC team, so somebody had to win there, right? But UNC, they lost their super regionals at home to Arizona. They were up 3-1 and blew lead in the eighth and got beat 4-3. So North Carolina got knocked out, and Arizona will advance to play Coastal Carolina. Murray State, which I'm torn on this series, right? Because you're like, go ACC, but you're also like, no, Murray State's a in-state team, so cheering for the Racers. They beat Duke 19-9 today, so that was a big one. That was a Saturday, Sunday, Monday series, so that game will finish up tomorrow. I don't know the times. I haven't looked at the times on that yet, but they'll play that game on Monday. And then Florida State and Oregon State are currently in action. They are in a winner-take-all game tonight out in Corvallis, and that is currently 7-3 in favor of Oregon State. So keep an eye on that one, because that who Louisville will play in the first round of the College World Series.
Looks like that Duke game is at 7 tomorrow night.
7 tomorrow night. Good deal. So I'll be locked in on that one. I think I'll be cheering for the Racers. I just, in-state school, Dan Skirka, just, if you haven't watched any of his press conferences or anything, head coach of the Racers down there, just seems like an awesome dude. They got done with their regional last weekend when they beat Ole Miss, and his little boy had a little league baseball game, and he posted a picture, like, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 of the guys like went to his son's little league baseball game the day after their regional. I just thought that was really cool. Like, I think that's, obviously he's building a special program there, because the kids wouldn't come out and support their coach's son if they didn't really, just have a good relationship with the family. So that was good to see as well. And then across the country, Arkansas won their series against Tennessee 2-0. That was one that I was really excited about. We had talked about that one leading up to the Supers. We were definitely pulling for Arkansas on that one. A big Dave Van Horn fan. I hope he can win one eventually. I hope it's not this year, because we're there. But he definitely is overdue to win one with the Hogs down there. UCLA won the series over UTSA. And then Coastal won yesterday. They swept Auburn and took both games there. And then the final game of the Super Regionals, LSU and West Virginia, is currently underway. Let me get a score update on that one. 6-0 LSU in the third. So that one's, I think that one's probably going to get a little sideways, but that's just my thoughts. So if you're keeping up with the games right now, that Florida State and Oregon State game is really one to keep an eye on, because that's who Louisville's going to play first round out in Omaha. So, Terry, I know we talked about the Super Regionals quite a bit leading up to them. Any of them really, shock you, I guess, based on the results that we've seen? So they're not all over yet, but what we've seen so far, anything really just kind of stick out to you?
I think I had said that I was really excited. One of the ones honestly, I think you had asked me about it, and I think I named every single regional, something that I looked forward to about it. So that wasn't probably super helpful at that point. But I was really looking forward to that Arizona, North Carolina. The Big 12, look, it's not the ACC or it's not the SEC, right? But some really good baseball played in the Big 12. some undervalued teams, I think. And it might have been pretty easy maybe for a Louisville fan to write off Arizona. I mean, we, kind of curb stomped them. It's just a one-off type of a game back then. And, look, Peter Michael just straight dazzled them,
Yeah.
right? I mean, he was as good as he was all year. He was right then, you know what I mean? And he had some really good starts, and that one was maybe the best. But the Arizona team is really good. They've got some dudes on their team. They got some high draft picks, and the thing was, North Carolina's pitching though is so good. And Nap was he was fantastic on Friday. And so you get off to that 1-0 lead, right? And you just think like, well, that's probably done, right? They're going to find a way to win one, and they let that one slip away today. And obviously it was going at the same time that ours was.
Yeah.
But I think you mentioned they took a 3-1 lead into the eighth, and I know a lot of times they have gone this year to they've got two stud freshman arms at the back end of that bullpen. Um, I don't know. I didn't look at the box or anything like that. I don't know if either one of those guys was in. They may have been, um, but that's a big moment. And when Arizona was able to kind of creep themselves ahead, I mean, Arizona has maybe the best closer in college baseball. I think it's one earned run over the last 35.1 innings, I think is what it is. I mean, that's just outlandishly good. So that's like Eli Hoyt summer numbers up in the Northwoods League. So, it's what a great series. Just a really, the games were tight. Um, I thought the Coastal Auburn
Yeah.
series was really good. I know it's a sweep, but that game, if anyone stayed up for that game on Friday, and I think it ended at like 2:20 in the morning, which I only know because I was up watching it. It was what a phenomenal baseball game. You obviously have to sit through the rain delay, right? But whew, man, that was some good baseball. Auburn with a great rally to get back, and then how good is Bodine, man? I mean, he does everything, and like that's one of the things I was really excited about, like about the whole weekend was just there were some outstanding catchers left once you get to this super regional, and obviously including Matt Klein.
Yeah.
And so you've got Stevenson, you've got Bodine, you've got Klein. I mean, there's just and I could go on and on. So listen, don't even skip out on our guy Will Veertling. So I mean, there's some dudes out there, and so just man, what a fun weekend. I think I told you before, this is my favorite weekend for college baseball, and so this was it's lived up to the billing so far, and it's not over yet. Oh, we lost Matt maybe. Oh, he's back.
Here I am. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. I'm back.
It's all right. You froze for a second, but you're back.
But no, I don't know where he ended up. But the Coastal series, I don't know. Did you see the SEC guy on Twitter that posted the video? He was actually on a podcast, I believe, and he was talking about what Auburn was going to do to Coastal and used a bunch of explicitives and how it was going to be a sweep and this and that. If you haven't seen it, just go search around Coastal Twitter, you'll find it. But he came out and they turned him into a clown, and they did all. It's pretty funny now, and he's playing along with it, and he's kind of eating his words, but it's a good time. So that was a heck of a series. Like you said, we got done recording Friday night, and we had a early Saturday. So I told you I was like I'm going to go to bed, and I'd get in bed and I'd check Twitter real quick and see they're coming back from a delay, and it was like 15 or 20 minutes after that, and I was like, well, shoot, I can't go to bed now. So here I find myself up for a couple hours watching that game, but it was just a heck of a series, and most of them have been like I said, that one was a sweep, but it was two really high quality baseball games. So I watched some of the UCLA UTSA series, two good baseball teams. UCLA took it, but that UTSA team, you can sleep on them. They had some dudes up and down that roster, and they weren't scared of anybody. Their coach, every time he got behind the microphone, that's kind of what their approach was. So just I'm excited we're one of the last teams standing, but this was a heck of a weekend that's still going. of college baseball. So let's talk about our game today, right? That's what we're here for, and what a game it was. Uh, I think the biggest thing to me that stood out outside of play on the field was, like I said, that, Card Nation really showed out this weekend. 5,700 on Friday, 6,066 on Saturday, and 6,046 today, which were all top 10 in attendance. One thing I do want to talk about, we talk about attendance and people that were there. The Coastal Carolina banana guy, you know who I'm talking about, the fan that wears the banana suit and the coastal flag. So he was there today. If you didn't see him, he's from Louisville. So I was talking to Micah from fifth quarter ACC, who does a fabulous job. I was talking to Micah. He was there, and banana guy comes by, so we kind of pull him in, and he's from Louisville. Went to Coastal, just kind of became a fan down there, and so it was kind of cool to see him up here. If you don't know who we're talking about, look him up. He wears this big banana suit and a coastal flag and goes to the games. He gets pretty rowdy, but he was talking about making the trip out to Omaha. So you may see him out there on TV and stuff, because I'm sure they'll find a way to get him on television if he makes his way out there. So. But the crowd was electric. I got to see a handful of people. I saw Micah, who had been on podcasts with him before, but never met him in person. So it was good to see him. Terry and I bumped into each other. Zion's brother came up to me, and he was like, "Hey, are you Matt?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm Matt." And I didn't know who he was at the time. And he was like, "I'm Zion's brother." And kind of threw ball with him and his son for, I don't know, maybe an inning or so. And
He's good.
ran in. Yeah, he was a super good dude, but he was like, a big fan of the show, but awesome guy. I was just walking around the stadium, people just be like, "Hey, you Matt," we just strike up conversation. So anybody who's out there that I saw that I got to talk to, appreciate y'all listening, and it was a good chat with any of you today at the ballpark, and I know Terry can probably echo that as well. So let's talk about the play on the field, and it starts with the pitching. I mean, giving up 2 runs. This staff just continues to twirl gems like they've done this entire postseason. Eberly again, you throw a freshman out there and he's pitching like a senior, like he's done for the past 8 weeks. We have said this past couple times we've talked about Ethan, but I'm losing words to describe him at this point in time, because he just continues to go out there and do what he does. Through 5 innings today, gave up 6 hits, 3 strikeouts, and really his only blemish was 1 pitch. It was a 2-run home run from Miami. Outside of that, I mean, he was sensational. He didn't walk a batter today. Just every button he pushed was the right button. And then from there, you go from Ethan Eberly to another freshman. And just the fact that this staff just continues to have confidence in these freshmen to roll them out there in a winner-take-all game to get your club to Omaha, it says a lot about those 2 guys. And Schweitzer was nails again too, right? Through 3 innings, he gave up 2 hits. He did get a little bit of trouble. I believe it was the 6th inning. I got the bases loaded, and then he got a ground ball, turn 2 on to get out of that. From him through to the catcher, and then down to Tague at first to end that threat. But man, that could have been a big crooked number, and that could have changed the momentum of the game. But suddenly, when you leave bases stranded, all of a sudden that momentum shifts right back over to our dugout, and that's exactly what it did. We'll continue talking about the pitching, and then we'll jump over to the offense here in a few minutes, because Justin West came in to finish out the 9th. He got the first 2 outs, walked a couple, and then when the lineup turned over and they had a righty coming up, Coach Mack and Coach Williams made the decision to go to Brennan Cutts, which I was really excited to see. I want to see West obviously close it out. He's in the game. You don't want to have him get in any trouble. You just want to be over with at that point in time. West is a Kentucky kid. He's from McCracken County, I believe is where he threw, right? Paducah Tillman, that's right. He was at Paducah Tillman. I hope he's not listening, because he'll hate me if I say that he went to McCracken.
Same region. You're in the same region.
They're big rivals down there, so I don't want him
to. You're close.
I don't want him to mistake him for his rival. But no, so Justin was at Paducah Tillman. So, a Kentucky kid, you want to see him on the mound and finish it out. But when the lineup flipped over, they made a decision to go to Brennan Cutts, and equally happy for Cutts, because he's a guy that transferred in here after winning conference pitcher of the year from at Indiana State, and to come here and have the coaches trust you in that moment to get the final out of a super regional to send your team to Omaha. That's a big moment, and I would say it made that decision that I think he probably knows he made the right decision all year long. But at that point in time, when you get to come in and record the final out for your team to go to the super regionals, it's like, yeah, you're where you're supposed to be. Really happy for all the guys that were on the mound today. They all really just didn't let Miami get a ton of momentum outside of the one home run and then the when they load the bases, but most of those were from walks. They really didn't square up on anything. So pitching staff, again, like they've been all postseason, NCAA tournament postseason, we're just nailed. So Terry, give me your thoughts on what you saw from the staff today.
Yeah, you obviously alluded to it and spoke with, when you said Ethan didn't have any walks today. I mean, that's obviously one of the very main keys to the game. I mean,
Yep.
and that's really the key. Just when you look at Ethan, just in general, he's a strike thrower. I
Yep.
mean, just period. And so that's what makes you feel so confident. Well, as a fan, you can feel confident in Ethan because you know the ball's going to be across the plate. But the guys love playing behind him, and I know that Coach Mack alludes, right, like, oh, the guys like playing behind him because the ball is gonna, it could be coming to you. But it's not just Max saying it. I mean, you've heard guys talk after games about, oh, I love being behind Ethan because I mean, we're on our toes. It's in the zone. It could be me. It could be whatever. Like he's filling that strike zone up, and like there's no stage too big for that kid. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to matter what it is. I mean, I alluded that the kid's got ice in his veins. I mean, he's not he's not phased by any type of situation. He's not phased by runners on base. I mean, none of that stuff seems to matter to him. He's able to throw all pitches for strikes at any time. That's the other thing. Like, whether he's trying to mix slider in early or late, whether he needs the fastball, um, you know, it doesn't matter what Raj is calling for him in what situation. Ethan can throw it for a strike, and that not only does that give the guys behind him confidence, but think about the confidence that gives Roger as a pitch caller to just know that, okay, I can call this. Roger's able to call that game however he would want to, and not have to worry about, is Ethan, can he do it in this? Is he struggling with this? Because he's not. I mean, he just doesn't. So again, I say all the time, great kid, great family. They when I talked to his dad today, and I'm sure I'm not betraying any confidence here, but his dad said, look, when he got here, he thought, maybe some week, maybe some innings during the week, maybe some Tuesday innings might be kind of where he kind of cuts his teeth this year, right? And and that's what happens to a lot of freshmen, not just here but around the country. You just kind of have to cut your teeth on midweeks. And the thing is, Ethan was so successful early in the season in some good outings, and then all of a sudden you're like, all right, well maybe we'll get him 2 innings. Well, maybe we'll get him, maybe we'll toss him in now on a Friday, night. Maybe we get him a little Saturday. You start to just and you just start to notice, like, I mean, this kid's nails in any situation. Whenever you bring him in, again, a strike thrower. Just so happy for him, man. He was spectacular today. You said, I mean, it's the one mistake, man. That thing just got inside that foul pole. So, um, was that Miami kid carrying his bat all the way to first base? What was he doing down there? So, just and that was ridiculous. You don't need to carry. You don't. I mean, it's not like I'm trying to think of what's that movie Benchwarmers where the guy carries the bat all the way around when he
All
hits
the way
him.
around.
Yeah, so I don't know what that Miami guy was doing, but he hung on to that bat a little long. Benchwarmers is a good movie, by the way, but he he was great. And when you flip the, he gives up that. It's weird because I don't know whether to call it a bloop single or not. I tweeted or whatever, sent out that it was a bloop single, but like, it wasn't really a bloop, but it just kind of found the Bermuda Triangle out there. It was just kind of it was just an awkward play. Like, there's like four guys converging on that baseball, and it looked like maybe one or two of them couldn't really get there, but then there was maybe one that should have got there, but then another that you kind of watching, you don't want to run into. It just was an awkward play, and so he comes out, he flips the ball to Schweitzer, and yeah, I mean, you know, he was struggling to find that strike zone there for a
Yeah.
minute, and I don't know if it's I don't know if you want to call it luck or just look what I found kind of play, but I mean, whew, that ball found his glove on that double play with the bases loaded, and give give Jake credit for a couple things right there. Number one, he knows exactly what to do if he gets the ball. He's going home. And number two, he does it fast enough to be able to also get the double play.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't try to find it in there. You got to get it out quick. You got to make a good, accurate throw. And look, those are not, ask Miami if those are easy plays.
Yeah.
And so, that allowed, I mean, that first game unraveled on a play just like that.
Yep.
Completely unraveled on him on that kind of play. And so for Jake to just kind of keep his wits about him, let's get it out of there, let's get it right to home, and then Matt makes the throw down, and we get out of the inning, and then after that, I mean, there was a few more fly balls than you normally see from Jake. I think Jake would probably tell you he didn't have his A stuff today, but he has A stuff up here, and I think that's the key. I mean, to watch these kids grow up in that way this year, like mentally, to be able to know, like, okay, I don't always have to have my very best stuff if I know that I can still challenge guys and know that the guys behind me have my back. And so there were a couple more. Like I said, he's mostly a guy that gets a lot of ground balls, and so a few more fly balls today than normal. But man, he did a great job. And then look, you go to Jay West and these sandwiches. He gets the K. Then you mentioned the couple walks, then the K again. Those guys. That thing drops in there. They got just people's knees. But you've seen it for seen Justin West's career at Louisville, it seems like it's been a decade. I mean, but it obviously has not been. But I mean, you just think he just seems like he's been here a long time, even though he really hasn't, because he's just been like, I don't want to say a mainstay, but like he's been a guy you've seen a lot. He's gone through some injuries and he's overcome a lot of things. And so that's what makes me so happy for a kid like that. And there's so many, we've alluded to him in the last week or two, especially about so many different kids have overcome different things in this program. And some of them are doing it right now. Some of them are rewriting those stories right, continuing to do that. And so for him to continue to do that today, I thought it was great, and just a great call by Raj and Dan to go to cuts right there. Um, Again, a strike thrower. And so that he's going to go in there, he's going to challenge people. And he went right after him. And I mean, I thought it was his celebration, I thought was awesome. I mean, he knew it. It was an out. And let me just saunter on over here to my boys real quick. He just starts walking off the mound. He was pretty funny afterwards. He say he didn't even, I blacked out type thing. And so, and that's dog pile time and it's time to party. And so just the pitching staff was the postseason run has just been exceptional. And you've seen the maturation of some of these kids. I mean, some of these guys are growing up right before our eyes in the last 2 weeks. And there's obviously a lot of baseball left to be played, hopefully, this year, right? I mean, there's an opportunity to play for another couple weeks here. But if you just want to creep and look ahead to what could come in the next year or two, there are some young dudes on this staff and even some vet dudes that have some eligibility left that are going to be taking a lot of confidence from some of these situations that they've been in here down the stretch into next year, which bodes very well for this program, not only in the next week or two, but also, going forward in the next year or two.
Yeah, you and I have talked about that quite a bit. Just throughout the season. When freshman steps up here or freshman steps up there, it's like those we've got a lot of dudes that are, and not just the freshmen, but we've talked about them quite a bit. That really excited that they're going to be program guys. That we're going to have around for a long time. That's something Coach Max talks about is program guys that that stick around. Obviously they want to dabble in the port a little bit, but they want to recruit and develop, and we've got plenty of those young guys that are going to be around for a long time that are playing in big time moments. They're not, like you said, we've got freshmen out there that like you said, they're getting innings when they can. That's what freshmen are kind of used to. That's what they do. But we've got a lot of freshmen that are playing some very, very meaningful innings, and they're getting put into situations that freshmen typically don't get put into at Louisville. They normally have to wait their turn here, and that hasn't been the case with some of these guys. So a couple of things that I made some notes when you were talking about Benchwarmers. That is a extremely underrated movie. And when you said that, I was like, one of our off season podcasts, we're gonna have to do like my top five and your top five baseball movies of all time.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to, we're doing that. So I've jotted that down as we're going. I want to talk about some stats because I've given these after every game from the postseason so far. So 54 innings through the postseason so far for the pitching staff, 37 hits, which now that I think that looks a little inflated from what it really is because Miami had 13 on Saturday, so they put up a big number there. But still, 37 hits in 54 innings, 12 earned runs, 64 strikeouts, 21 walks. All that equates to a 2.00 ERA. I mean, that's just
And look at what that whip is.
right. And I don't have that in front of me, but
It's like
you're
one.
talking, yeah, you're under one, right at it. I mean, that's
Insane.
absolutely, and that's why we are where we are. I mean, those numbers right there are why this team is continuing to play baseball this upcoming weekend in the College World Series. So just the guys we've talked about, just hat tip to them because they have grinded their teeth. Coach Williams has, I mean, he's taken a lot of flack this year, right? And he deserves his flowers right now because he's a big part of why we are where we are at this point in time. I do want to look over at some of the comments we've got coming in. Like I said, we're live, so anything you want to talk about or send our way, let us know. Evan said Oregon State is up 13-3, and Brandon said the same thing in a different way. So it looks like, unless something crazy happens, it's in the end of the third inning, but 13-3. So Louisville can start preparing for Oregon State unless something drastic changes.
So shout out to our dude Brandon because I am pretty positive that I heard from a little birdie today that he has gotten himself some season tickets for next year. So
Okay,
there's
let's
another season
go.
ticket holder. So I just encourage everyone, man. I know Coach Mack talked about it post game. So if you did not watch the post game, I understand it's very long. It was 38 minutes. I think of just him was 38 minutes. And again, apologies to anyone who looks for comments from kids. I was still out on the field, like talking with other kids and their families. And like by the time I got down there, they had already started, so I was not going in there when to interrupt what they were doing. So I did not get the student athletes today in there. But Coach Mack did talk about, hey, look, there were some people that wanted tickets that could not get tickets this weekend. And a really good way to secure postseason tickets is to have season tickets because you get to pick before everybody else. You get to secure your tickets. So, just for anyone that's listening, if that's something that you want, they're cheap, man. They're so cheap. Like for what you're getting, what you're paying for, you get the 17 regular season games, is how it's been really since it started. You pay for the ACC games and you pay for the UK game, and you get either Vandy or Indiana. Everything else is free. It's the best value in the city of Louisville, athletic wise, and it's not close. So get your season tickets. It supports the baseball program. I get into every game for free, every single game, because I have a media pass. I pay for season tickets, and I even have a third ticket that I buy to set my backpack in, so that I don't have to take up anybody's. I don't want to take up a spot from anyone or anything if any of that stuff happens. And so I bought three even this week, and my dad drove down from Michigan for the week, to see the game. So get them. It's cheap. I know I'm a chilling for the athletic department here, but and for the baseball program, and I will always do that for this baseball program. So get your season tickets. You get first pick for postseason, and I'm telling you, this program, the way they're set up, and if you don't think I know what I'm talking about, because I'm sure there are some of you out there that think I don't, and I'm not someone who needs to pat myself on the back, but I'm telling you, if you don't think I know what I'm talking about, go and listen to the preseason podcast and listen and see if I told you that this team was an Omaha team. Because I guarantee you I did. Because 100%. I've been saying it all year. We've been saying it all year. The ceiling is Omaha. I said it even after the Pittsburgh loss. The ceiling is Omaha for these kids. And they're there. They are not done. This program is set up for current and future success. Look at the roster. And let me also guarantee you, if you have not watched the videos that I post online, the kids that are coming, there are some dudes coming in here. I'm talking like future All American dudes coming into this program. So it's not stopping. It's only going to get better. And if you think, just think about what this run means to kids in the transfer portal that might want to come here, kids on your own roster that you have to obviously recruit back because that's the world we live in. I'm just telling you, get those season tickets like our boy Brandon did, and find yourself out at Jimmy P next year because this run is going to continue. Okay, I'm done.
I do.
I'm off my soapbox.
I do want to give a apology to Brandon also because when I saw Terry at the game today, he said Brandon's looking for you. And Brandon, I was going to shoot you a message on Twitter, but I'm the type of guy when I go to a game, I can't sit still. So I was in about 100 different places. I was in the berm for a little bit. I was down the right field line. I was up on the concourse. I was behind the dugout. I can't sit still in games like this. So I'm miserable to be around. So I was all over the place. One thing I do want to follow up what you said, Terry, and just some questions that are coming in. Sean, talking about attendance numbers. If you were Josh, would you try to get some money to make the stadium bigger? Here's the thing. I know fans are saying that. You've been seeing a lot on social media, but they're not going to do that for 3 games a year. If the fans start showing up in the regular season, they sell that place out during the season, and there's a need for it all season long. Josh, they'll be forced to make that decision, right? If there's no seats, if there's a waiting list to get season tickets for Louisville baseball, they'll have no choice but to extend. There's plenty of space there where they can add seats. They can go, down both baselines. They can add seats in the berm if they want to. There's plenty of space to expand. The fans just have to give them a purpose and a reason to do it. And like Terry was saying, I'm just going to echo what you said. We've got the family 4-pack, and I want to say it's like $450 or something. It's nothing. Like it's super, super cheap. So don't call the athletic department and be like, Matt said it was $450 if it's a little more than that. I don't know the exact price, but it's not much. You can really maximize your money there because, like you said, there's no better value in this city than going to Louisville baseball games. You're just not going to find it. Some other questions coming in. Oh, go ahead, Terry.
No, you can even buy berm season tickets. You can buy
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
people that have berm season tickets, and so
Mm-hmm.
and again, it
Mm-hmm.
still gives you priority if you want postseason stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's if you're on a little tighter budget, there's berm stuff available. Um, there as far as the expanding of the stadium goes, Dan touched on it just a little bit in the post game today. About the bringing in like some temporary seating, like to add, but for what it costs, for what it, for what you were going to get. It wasn't going to be able to add a ton of seating, and it would have taken away a lot of kind of what makes that atmosphere great. It would have taken away a lot of that down the line, standing along the fence and some things like that. It would have had to knock some of that out, and he didn't want to do that. And so look, there's we joke around a lot, right, about oh, the SEC, oh, it means more, whatever, and all these things. And we talked about just the other day, a couple nights ago. They have that slogan for a reason. Uh, it has nothing to do, maybe something. A lot of years it does have to do with they're the best, they have the champions, all these things, but they pack their stadiums night
Yep.
after night after night after night. And that is one thing that I will be completely honest with the Louisville fan base that has always frustrated me a little bit about Louisville baseball is that everyone seems more than happy to go to Cardinal Stadium in November to watch, you know, a football team, play whoever, play Boston College, and you'll sit out there in the cold and in the rain, and we'll put 50,000 in there, whatever the number may be on that day, and you guys won't come out and watch the Louisville baseball team in March, in April, for a fifth of the price, less. I mean, what's it cost to get $12, $10, $15, whatever it is? It's a great deal, man. I mean, just, and it's not just a way that, even if you haven't, this is how good of a deal it is that you don't even feel, if you can't go to a game, you don't feel like, oh, all my money's gone.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that kind of commitment. And so, if the weather is terrible and you don't want to round your kids up and take them, that's okay. Like, a lot of people do that. And so, I think, Matt, you do that sometimes. You can't get to every game.
Yeah.
You can't round up your family for every night if it's terrible weather, or if it's whatever, if it's a different night. So, a certain night, you gotta get the kids in bed, whatever it may be, but it still supports the program.
Hmm.
And that's what's important to me. That's why I continue to buy my season tickets, because I want to continue to support the baseball program in whatever way I can. So I just would really encourage some of you out there to just go ahead and hop on that. They're for sale right now. The athletic department's smart. They're trying to pounce right now on the success. So they're for sale. Please go get them. Support these boys. I'm telling you, man, this isn't the last run. This is not the last run in the near future. So just would really encourage you that way. And one last thing, as far as the, because I've been seeing it a lot on social media, right? Oh, hey, how about this indoor facility? And people keep posting the photo of what they posted, that they were going to do out in left field, right? Okay, that ship has sailed. I
Yeah.
just, I'm not. I just want to be like super clear about it. That ship has sailed as far as what they're doing out there in left field. That's done. That is not going to happen. The way the college landscape changed very rapidly, and the way that uh, material costs have just gone through the roof. I mean, if you're a homeowner or anything like that, and you've been into your local Menards or Home Depot or whatever, you just look at the prices of what some of these, just building materials cost. And I mean, it's insane right now. So with the high prices of that, now you got to use money to get quarterbacks and to get, point guards and to get, center fielders and whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? So the way that thing has changed, um, has changed what the idea is going to be for an indoor facility. And so I'm sure you've been able to see online what they've done with the locker room, what they've done with the weight room for those guys. They've got some cages downstairs. So, they've got a new training facility downstairs in terms of like training tables. They're a lot. There's the cold tubs, all those things in there for them to do. So there is something that they're trying to work on facility wise. I'm not gonna That's not my job to break news or anything like that. But like, there's something that they're working on, and it'll be great. It's not gonna be what was out in the outfield though. So for all those people that keep posting that and tagging Josh Hurd in it, that ship has sailed. That's not a thing anymore. But these kids, there is something in the works for them facility wise. I just want to like squash some of that and let y'all know like that stuff. There, trust me, Coach Mack is not letting that facility stuff go. He's gonna keep pounding the pavement for those kids and keep pushing for that stuff. But I just wanted to just touch on that real quick because I've seen a lot of that out there as these as the boys are making this run this postseason.
And to piggyback off that, the more people that go buy those season tickets, the quicker those types of things can get done too. So
Exactly right.
and Terry and I, we love Louisville baseball, like so we're gonna sell as much as we can. Ton of comments and stuff coming in tonight. We really appreciate it. So I'm gonna go ahead and go through that. Sean wants you to break the news, Terry. I know you can't, but good effort. Speaking of Sean, he was asking what the bourbon is tonight. I'd opened up a bottle of Willer 12 years, so celebrating with some good bourbon tonight since we are heading out to Omaha. Let's see what else we got coming in here. Kevin said these guys may just mess around and find a way to win this whole thing. Terry and I were talking for about 5 or 10 minutes before this, and it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I'm not gonna, stand here and say Louisville's the favorite when they get to Omaha. Of course, there's a lot of very high quality baseball teams that are going to be out there with them, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, the way they're playing right now, they are playing high quality baseball. Can't believe FSU and NC both blew it. We talked about that a little bit earlier today on the show, and this will be made into podcast. So if you did happen to miss anything, you'll be able to go back and listen to that a little bit later too. And do we care who wins between Duke and Murray? We chatted about that one a little bit, but I think Terry and I are both on the Racers, so we're Team Murray State. So tomorrow night we'll be locked in
Team Will
on that
Veerling,
one.
Team Nick Shuddy,
That's
for sure.
Yeah, so if you don't know, Will Veerling, Louisville's former catcher, is down at Murray, and then Nick Shuddy, who played up at Male, he's down there as well. So, Sean, I'm drinking Mr. and Mrs. Smith after what happened to him. That's a good one. Yeah, rough day for Russ. It seems like he may be able to get out of that, hopefully. I don't know. It seems like that was a little bit of a mess, but so obviously we took a lot of talking about a lot of fans and comments, things coming in. We appreciate that. Obviously, it kind of keeps us going. Terry and I love doing these lives. It's something we've done a lot the past couple of weeks. So keep firing stuff at us. We haven't even talked about the other part of the game today, which was the offense. And the 3-2 win. Obviously, when you score 3 runs, there wasn't a ton of action. I think Louisville had 10 hits, but it seemed like they were kind of scattered here and there. We didn't string a ton together, but obviously we did more than enough to win the baseball game. Zion hit a ball down in the left field corner that kind of rolled around a little bit and allowed Pike to score. From first after he lay down. I mean, that was a beautiful bunt, man. Picture perfect. He couldn't have placed it any better. So Pike singled, and then Zion hit a ball down in the left field corner down to the Miami bullpen. Scored him to get the scoring started for us. And then later scored a run. Zion scored later on the ground ball from Byram Hott. I'll be honest with you. I was worried to death they were going to overturn that. But so the play, Tague was on first. Byram hits a ground ball. They get the force out at second. Tague was run into second base. They get the force out. Byram beats the throw to first. Zion scores on the play, but they go back and review it because Miami said that Tague, he didn't slide. He didn't get down, that he was basically interfering. He didn't get out of the way. And with this umpire crew, some of the stuff we've seen, it wouldn't have surprised me if they did, but luckily they didn't. Because when he was running to the base, he kind of just veered off to the right. He didn't slide. He just kind of got out of the way. But lucky enough they didn't, which tied the game. I think that place would have come absolutely unhinged if they would have overturned that. So tied up 2-2. at that point in time. And then fast forward to the seventh inning, Monroe gets a single up the middle. He advances on a wild pitch. And then Eddie hit a ball up the middle that Michael Torres, who we talked about in our preview for the Super Regional, how he's just an elite defender, dove and almost made a wild catch on that ball. But yeah, he didn't, fortunately. Eddie was able to sneak into second with a double, and Jake scored on it, which kind of ended up being the final and the run that won the game for us. So, not a ton of action, but like we've talked about, the pitching staff did everything they had to do that the offense really didn't have to do anything. Which it's kind of funny because all year long it's really been the opposite, right? We were just trying to outscore teams for the most part. But at this point in time, just had to do enough because you knew your pitching staff was going to hold you in the game. Anything else that you saw, or kind of your thoughts being there today, what it looked like for you offensively from the Cards?
Yeah, honestly, I thought that there were a lot of big plays, especially very late in the game, that kind of, whether it's on the mound or, obviously Eddie's hit and, all that coming with two outs, I think can't be overlooked. The fact that they were able to do that with, that rally was a 2-out rally,
Mm.
with Jake's single up the middle and then
Yep.
Eddie's double there. But I think the play, and you talked about it for a minute there, but I thought the play of the game was, the one that was really a momentum changer and really kept us going was Byram Hot running hard to first base to stay out of that
Yep.
double. Uh, I when the game was over, and kind of the celebration part of it on the field had died down. I made sure I found Byram Hot and told him, you know, that I thought that it was a play that could have that potentially swung that game. And I even shared with him, for a kid that comes in as a transfer to, he probably thought that he should play more. If we're just being honest, he hits for a good average. He's a pretty sound defender. He can play all four infield spots. He is super valuable. I mean, super valuable. And so, for a kid that transfers in, he can hammer the baseball too. That's a strong dude. We've seen him hammer some balls out of the ballpark. So for a kid that probably thinks he should play a little bit more, to stay ready. And we've talked about this all year. When the bus pulls up to your stop, right? That's Dan's, analogy that he likes. To continue to be ready, especially late in the year like this, when it's become obviously very apparent that they're running Kamayu out there basically every day, at second base. And so for him to stay ready, I told him point blank. I mean, the words I used was, that tells me everything I need to know about you as a man. And I said, I'm not talking about baseball. I'm talking about as a man. Um, that tells me everything about who you are and what you're going to be able to do with your life. And man, there's a lot of stuff like that happens throughout baseball that really tests your character, tests who you are. Can you push through? Can you talk about Justin West, and there's so many examples throughout this whole roster. We could run down, Matt Klein, Garrett Pike. I mean, it's there's so many guys out. It's guys who are overlooked. We had Jake Monroe on. No one was giving Jake looks in high school, and he's an overlooked kid, and he has to work a little harder for it. He's going to College World Series. It's amazing. The team's just full of those stories, and that's what makes me so excited. So I made sure I found Mr. Hot and let him know, like, hey man, that was to me that was one of the plays of the game. Him running hard out there, because if he's not running immediately as hard as he can down that line, that is a double play, and that run does not score. Much less whatever happened at second base. So uh, I thought that was awesome. Obviously, you know, Dan talked about it in the post game. there have been a lot of breaks go against, or if you want to call it a break, right? Go against us. So, how many times has Eddie felt robbed or gotten robbed, in the last month alone? I mean, that ball that was taken, that homer taken away from him at Georgia Tech, the one taken away from him at Clemson. I mean, you could go on and on and on about some of these things. And as that ball was, I mean, that ball was cutting towards the center fielder the way it was moving. And that's what gave him a chance to make that play.
Hmm.
And he got his glove on it, and he just was not able to get that thing wrapped around there. And I mean, like you said, that was all we needed. And we just finally got that kind of a break. Not that we haven't gotten some breaks as time goes. We talked about some the other day where the ball bounces right back to Matt Klein behind the plate, right? He gets the one where it takes his glove clean off and it comes right back to me. He's going to dive in there with his bare hands to tag a guy if he has to. So, we've gotten some breaks, but we got one today. And, maybe the baseball gods owed us one there. And, it was enough. Like you said, it wasn't the prettiest game offensively, but it was enough. And the pitching staff carried them today. And the other, some days it's both, right? Some days it's just the offense. So that's what I like about this team. You want to get in a slugfest? We got dudes that can play, that can go slugfest. You want to get in a pitcher's duel? We can do pitcher's duel. So, we've shown the ability to play any kind of baseball. And that has to make you feel pretty good as step forward onto the big stage. Um, I do want to just say again, I've said it before on here, but this team only has two national TV losses all year out of, I think, they're either 11 or they're 12-2 on national television. So, I'm just saying, last year, I think we lost every game we played on national TV. I think I have that right. Now I'll go back and look, and if I'm wrong, I'll correct myself on the next one. But this year's team plays its best when the bright lights are on. There's no doubt about that. They've proven that over and over and over again this year. Big name opponents, big games, big stage. This team comes to play. And that has to, like I said, you got to feel really good about that as as you head out to Omaha, because there's no bigger stage than that. And these boys are up for the challenge, I think.
Yeah, no, I think, heading into Omaha, one of the things that I am really looking forward to is one of the things you talked about was them having the ability to win baseball games in different ways. Because once you get out there, there's no telling what you're going to get into, right? You and I have talked about this a little bit. I mean, you could be in a situation where you talked about on here before. Michigan threw five guys when they went to the College World Series last and went to the finals, right? And they threw five arms the whole time. That's it.
And won the first finals game. Vanderbilt had to beat
Yes,
them twice.
right. So you know, I think the team is set up to do that if they have to. And the way you can get by with that, and you can't in like a super regional, is because the tournament is so spread out. You play a day, you're off a day. You play a day, you're off a day. So you're able to rest some arms. You can get pretty creative with how you approach your bullpen. I think we've also shown the ability that we can score a ton of runs. We've done that quite a bit this year. Obviously we are top 10 in the country in many offensive stats. So I think we can go out there if we need to score 10 runs in a game. I think we can go out there and score 10 runs in a game. So the fact that this team continues to show the ability to win games in different ways is one thing that I am really excited about heading into the College World Series. I did just get a couple more comments in. One I want to talk about here. Somebody said they just purchased their season tickets for 2026, two chairback seats. They get a $20 discount per seat because they're a senior citizen. So we look out for senior citizens. $20 discount per seat, but they were $228 for the whole season. And you can pay over time. So they said they can over 9 months. If you purchase them now, you have that long to pay for them. They said so they pay about $25 a month until the season starts. And mentioned just how crazy of a value it is. So again, not trying to pressure you into doing anything, but it's just something that Terry and I are obviously very passionate about, and we think the value is there. So this just another, like I said, I don't have my Cardinal account pulled up, so I can't look at it right this second. But there's an example of kind of what you can get in for. So go ahead, Terry.
I just wanted to no. First off, that's awesome. Whoever that is that sent that in, thank you for doing that sincerely. I mean, I'm not like speaking on behalf of the baseball program or anything, but like that's awesome, and I just like love when people want to support these boys, and so like I just thanks for continuing like for people who are paying attention and supporting these guys and came out this weekend and like they deserve it. And that's why we're doing that's why we do this. That's why I do what I do because these kids deserve it. And I'm in full support of anyone who will support them in any way. So whether it's season tickets is what you can do, if you can do dugout club, whatever these things are. So variety of way, you want to buy gear from these kids NIL stores. Zion Rose has some sweet
Mm-hmm.
shirts with his face on there where he's yelling with the batting helmet on, like you see his dad pop around the stadium with him. Those things are awesome. So those are cool. So just a variety of ways that you can support these guys. And also 13-2 this year on national TV, and one of the losses is yesterday to Miami. So that's the only other one is Pittsburgh in the ACC
Pittsburgh. I
tournament.
would say, yeah,
So
Pittsburgh was the other one. Yeah.
undefeated through the regular season on national television. So 13-2 when the lights are on, you gotta feel good about it.
That's awesome, and that's something I know you've talked about all year long. You keep updating us as the season progresses. So, 13-2. They've been there, done that. Type thing. So hopefully that momentum carries on. So let's kind of final thoughts on the weekend. Obviously, massive weekend at Jim Patterson Stadium. Fans were there. It was rocking. It was rowdy. Heading back to Omaha for the sixth time in program history. I think one thing that I loved that Dan said after the game, this was when he was with the team, this wasn't with the media. He said, we're not going there for some of it, we're going for all of it. So, I think fans in the past have kind of been frustrated. Louisville gets there and win a game or two, or but you're playing the other seven best teams in the country at that point in time in the season. Somebody has to lose too. Obviously, that's not what we're going for. But he's fired up. The team's fired up. They're playing really good baseball. And I don't think there's a team that we could play on our side of the bracket. Somebody mentioned this. We'll talk about it here in just a minute. That we can't beat. But before we head over and start talking about Omaha a little bit, anything else? Any closing thoughts you want to talk about? Maybe anything you picked up from Dan's press conference that you want to talk about before we kind of tie a bow on this and start talking about Omaha?
I thought it was that was pretty poignant when Dan talked about recruiting a little bit today
Yeah.
in the post game. There have been, as somebody who does keep up very closely, obviously on high school and baseball and recruiting, and I mean, I gotta be honest, I had contingency plans of what I was gonna do with my next week. I was planning on being, if it didn't go well this weekend, I was gonna be in Illinois tomorrow to watch Brandon Shannon throw, and I was going to be in Wisconsin on Tuesday to watch Cussau throw. So, and I was going to be back to watch the state tournament, this coming weekend in Kentucky. So I had some different plans. Obviously, I mean, I love that side of it. I love the high school baseball side and the summer ball side. The Midwest Prospects League is up at Grand Park in a week or so. I mean, that stuff's gonna all have to wait, man. I mean, that stuff can all wait for me. So, but as far as the recruiting goes, there have been some pretty high profile decommits in the last year or so, and Dan alluded to them today. And there are a variety of reasons for that, right? Let's be real. The last couple of years haven't been as good, right? And so there's some of that. There's some NIL stuff built in there where kids are coming to you with their hand out before they've even stepped foot on campus. And Dan just said, look, if you're looking for the biggest payday, this isn't your place. But it's not just that, because it's not the money that it is. And look, Louisville doesn't have the money NIL wise for college baseball players that like a Tennessee would have, or an LSU, or some of these other, free spending SEC, typically, Florida State tries to mix in there, some of these, Clemson, will shell out some cash. North Carolina, I think, has a pretty good fund. But, there are some that have really big funds for college baseball. That's not really the way Louisville operates. And you can see this weekend that that doesn't matter, because look at how much money Tennessee spends on their college baseball team. You know what they're doing next weekend? They're watching Louisville play baseball. That's what they're doing. Uh, I mean, you know what North Carolina's doing next weekend? They're watching Louisville play baseball.
How much money do you think
So
Murray State spends on their NIL package for baseball?
who?
Murray, yeah, how much money? How much money they spend on, and they're in the super regionals. And same way with some of these other schools that we've seen advance into the postseason. Like, they're not they're not shelling out a ton of cash, but you think West Virginia has a large bucket of NIL money for college baseball? Now, looks like they may go two and barbecue against LSU, but they were still in the super regionals,
Coastal Carolina.
right?
It's a great baseball program, but they don't have the money that these power conference schools have to spend NIL wise. But the thing is this: if you want to come to a place and be developed for the future, this is where you go. Period. I mean, look, there are other places that can do those things too, obviously, that can get you to the next level, that can do those things. But you better put Louisville on that list of schools that do that and that you can win at the highest level. This isn't just a place that you go to a regional. The standard is still the same. It's still, I mean, guys, Dan McDonnell, if he's not look, he doesn't have a national championship to his resume yet, but he is one of the best in all of college baseball. Ask anybody. You know how you say, like, there's some of your there's going to be guys that when you list off the elite coaches, right? You're going to talk about Tim Corbin, right? You're going to talk about some guys that Dan's name is in that list from everyone. And so why do you think he was so sought after for such, for all these big, powerful jobs? It's not because it's because those are jobs, those are places that people want to win, that they demand winning, and they think he's fit for that job. Yet he chooses to stay here. This is his home. This is where he and Julie have raised their kids. This is the program he built, and he wants to stay. He has made it very, very clear this is where he wants to be. And so, if you're a recruit, I mentioned it earlier, but if you're a recruit, if you're in the portal, if you're any of those things, you take a look at development. You start talking about Roger Williams. And again, I'm going to say it one more time. I don't want to say it one more time because that's a lie, because I'm going to say it more than one more time. But there are some of you out there listening that I know owe Roger Williams an apology, because he is that guy. I mean, and I'm not Johnny come lately on the Roger Williams train. And if you've been a listener of this podcast, you know, because I know Roger Williams is that dude. And you guys better, what do the kids say? Put some respect on his name. Do they even say that anymore? I'm old, so I don't know if they say that. They probably don't say it. So I'm, that's something from 5 years ago. That's my bad. But he's one of the elite pitching coaches in all of college baseball. We don't need to look around the country for another, this guy might be younger. He might know a little. He might have some different. We don't need that. Roger can do it. He's doing it right now. You see the evolution. The two guys today, you run out for 8 innings in a super regional win or go home game. They're both freshmen. They get you 8 innings and you got the lead. Period. Why do you think guys like Peter Michael and Brendan Cutts chose to come here? Roger Williams. They'll tell you. Ask them. I mean, it's that simple.
He develops guys. He gets them to the pros, and they go on and have success as pros. Look at all of them. There's so many examples throughout professional baseball. And so the recruiting aspect is going to continue to get better because this will help. But look, there I don't want to lie to you and say uh, some of those decommits didn't hurt my heart a little bit. That I've spent some time over the last couple summers following some of these kids and seeing them play and kind of investing my time into them, talking to their families, doing these things, following them around in the summer. That sucks, right? I mean but that's part of it. That's part of the gig, and that's part of baseball. But if you want the biggest payday, this program probably isn't for you anyway. And that's really what I think it comes down to. It's not to me it's not about, well, we don't have the resources to give them. To me it's more about, if that's what you want, this isn't for you. Because this isn't that kind of program. This isn't the kind of program where you just, you walk around with your hand out. No, we're here to work, and we're going to develop. And I'm not saying that you can't get NIL money here. There's some NIL money here. It's not, and Dan's even said it. He said it in the last week. He doesn't need to be top 10 in resources or in whatever, but he'd like to be top 20, top 25. Let me be in that range. And if he's in that range, he's a good enough baseball coach. Roger Williams is a good enough pitching coach. Adam Vrabel, Coach Snyder, dude, there's no better staff in all of college baseball. That's it. They're the guys. You want to be developed? This is where you come to be developed by those guys. And so, some of that recruiting stuff, it does sting because there's some dudes. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's been some dudes that have decommitted, and I'll also be honest. Some of them are just going to be draft guys anyway here in a couple months, and so they were never going to see campus anyway. So that makes me feel a little less, not sad, but a little less bummed about some of the decommits because probably 3 of them are just going straight to pro ball.
Yeah.
But again, just to reiterate, the recruiting, they're fine. There's some studs coming. We've talked about KD Elam. I alluded to Shannon. I alluded to Cuss-Out. Some of these guys, there's dudes coming in here that will be able to contribute right away. The cupboard is not bare. They're out there. They're getting them. We've already got a great commit from Ohio for, we talked about him a little bit a couple weeks ago, to slide into an outfield spot. So it's hard, right? Because you want to focus on this team, but you got to be working on that. It's tough. It's a tough schedule, and the NCAA screws it all up. But anyway, I've talked too long about it, but this is the place you want to come if you want to be developed. And if you want proof, watch the last 2 weeks.
Well, I think one thing, you talk about NIL a little bit too. I think and this is me speaking, this isn't from the staff, but I think if you've got NIL money and you're Coach Mack and the rest of the coaching staff, you've got enough dudes on this roster that have been with your program for a couple of years that deserve that money. I would rather pay the guys that we've got than to go looking somewhere else, right? They've been here, they've been through it, they've seen the lows of low, and now they're seeing the highs of high. Those are the dudes that I would love to see us just re-recruit, like you said, and say, hey, you spent your time here. You could have left. Things weren't all sunshine and roses after the past couple of years. They could have easily walked away. I'm sure they had offer. There's plenty of guys on this roster that could have easily gone somewhere else. They deserve that money. Pay those dudes and plug in some pieces where you can. And my assumption is that that's going to kind of be the approach of how they're going to go after this thing in the offseason, because that's how they've done it the past couple of years. Make sure the guys that you've got, your core pieces, make sure they come back. Re-recruit them, give them the money that they deserve, and then go get the pieces and fill in the gaps from the guys you lose to the draft, or the guys that you lose. You may lose a guy here to the portal, a couple guys that you lose, then fill in those pieces with the NIL money. And when you talk about development, I think the big thing that comes to mind for me is the continuity of the staff. Rogers Williams has been here since day one. Eric Snyder has been here for, gosh, what, I don't know, 12, 13, 15 years at this point. I mean, he's been here for over a decade, if I'm not mistaken. He's been here for a long time. And guess what? This just came in the comments, but I was going to bring it up as well. The coach that Snyder replaced, who was Lamonis, who was let go down at Mississippi State, he was at the game today supporting Coach McDonald. So, if you don't think he's building, a program for players, but coaches want to coach here too, right? Like, if he's got his old teammates and his old coaches coming back and supporting him at this point in time, like, Coach Mack is a guy that people just want to be around. And I think that is very, very clear to see from a player standpoint, but also from a coaching standpoint also. I mean, if one of his coaches ever decided they wanted to go somewhere else or retire or whatever it was, there's going to be no shortage of coaches that want to line up to coach baseball at the University of Louisville. It's just a program that people want to be around. So love where we are, love the direction of where we're going, and kind of how we're building the program just from the inside and developing these players to get them to the next level instead of just going and buying guys from all over the place like some of the other programs are doing. So we've talked a lot about that, which is good stuff. That I think that's important to the program. It's important to the fans. But the most important thing right now on everybody's mind is Omaha and what that's going to look like. So let's kind of chat about that. I was doing some research today, and Terry, you may know more about this than I do. I couldn't find a ton, but from what I understand, regionals that have the teams that are seeded 1, 4, 5, and 8 play on Friday. Is that the way you understand it?
That's
Okay.
correct. Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
So we were in a regional with the 1 seed, which was Vandy. So we will play on Friday, and the game times I believe are 1 and 6.
Central
those
time,
are
1 and 6 Central time.
Central, that's correct, Central Time. And those are determined at a later date. So we don't know exactly who's going to be where yet, from my understanding.
Okay, so I was told, not I don't know if this is factual, but I was told today that if it was Florida State, it was the early game, and if it was Oregon State, it was the late game. Now, I don't know. That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me necessarily, unless you're just trying to make sure that the West Coast team doesn't have to essentially play a morning game.
Yeah.
But so I don't know if that's factual or not. We'll obviously find that out in the coming days. But that's what I was told today. Well, I will tell you, our Micah, you alluded to Micah a little bit earlier. Micah was the one that told me that. So we'll see if Micah is, he sometimes is in the know there. So if we'll find out if Micah's on his A game as far as that goes. But it will 100% it will be on Friday.
Yeah. So if Micah's wrong, we're going to have him on here, and we're going to make him tell everyone that he was wrong. So that's his fault.
I say.
But quick score check: Florida State's down 6-14 in the 5th. So things still are not going well for the Seminoles. So unless something drastically changes, it looks like it is going to be Oregon State on Friday. So the way Omaha works, it's been a little bit since we've been there. So we'll play Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's kind of how our days will work. So again, we've got that day off in between. We got somebody else that just purchased 2026 season tickets, and they're excited. So keep them coming. We love to see it. So Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday is kind of the track that will go on. If there's an if necessary game, that can come into play also. But for right now, just remember Friday, Sunday, and beyond that, you'll be able to catch up from there. So Arizona and Coastal are on the other side of our bracket. So it's kind of like a quad. It's 4 teams in one bracket. The winner goes to the championship against the quad from the other side of the bracket. So we've got Florida State or Oregon State on our side. And then on the other side, we've got UCLA. They will play the winner of Duke and Murray. And then on the bottom part of that bracket, you've got what it looks like will probably be LSU against Arkansas. So I like where we are.
Heavyweight matchup there.
Yes, that's going to be a heck of a first game out there in the College World Series. I like the side that we're on, whether it be Oregon State or Florida State, and then Arizona and Coastal on the bottom. I like where we are because if you can avoid Arkansas with all cost and LSU, that's a win in my book. Because I think those are two very high quality baseball teams. Terry, I know you've been out to Omaha. I haven't been out yet. My wife and I were trying to finagle a way we can get out there, and if one of us can fly and the other can drive with our kid, how we're gonna if we're gonna try to make it, or she's maybe let me go out by myself. So we're trying to finagle all that right now and see what that's gonna look like. But I know you've been. I've never heard anybody that has been to Omaha, and I know a handful of people that have gone and did not go on a year that the team that they cheer for was playing. They just went because they wanted to watch baseball. So even that being said, I've never talked to someone that was like, it wasn't a good time. I wish I didn't go. So you've been, you got to experience it. Kind of just tell us about Omaha, what it's like, and sell us on going for the fans that may be thinking about making the trip out there.
Yeah, so I'm not someone that minds driving. Just in
Yeah.
general, I really like driving. I mean, number one, I like my car, so that helps always. But so I think it's from Louisville. I think I looked. It was what? It's 10.5 ish hours. You can make up a little time in there, right? You can put the pedal down a little bit here and there, so you can make up a little bit of time. But um, you switch the time zones, right? So you
Mm.
gain that hour on the way there, so that'll help you too if you're worried about the time spent or whatever. But look, it's it's one of those like bucket list sports things. Like even if you're just like a in general just a sports fan, it's kind of just one of those things you want to experience, right? And so, you know, I I would be uh I would be extremely embarrassed if, people knew how much money I've spent to go to some sporting events in my life. Uh, I've been very fortunate to watch, teams. I grew up in Michigan, so I've been very fortunate to watch teams I grew up rooting for play in the NBA Finals, in the World Series, in the Stanley Cup Finals. Uh, I've been to the Ryder Cup. I've been to big football, bowl game thing. I mean, I've national championship for bat. Man, I went to that 13 national title game to try to watch Michigan win the title and stinking Louisville. Man, God, oh man, that Trey Burke block was clean, man. I'm just telling you. But the Omaha is one of those things to put on that. I've been to the Derby. The Derby counts, right? So,
Yeah. Yep.
but Omaha is one of those things, that you can put right up alongside, for me, of any of those experiences. And so, I was very fortunate to be able to go. One with my old man, one with my dad back in 19. And so we got to watch Michigan and Louisville. I had always swore I was never going to go till Michigan made it. I think I've said it many times on here, but my grandpa was a very big college baseball fan. He just talked about Omaha and, like it was church. But, there, it's just it's everything that's right with college sports. You feel it when you're in there. And when you think of these big games, these big moments, these big matchups, and they're doing it in front of 25,000 people in there, and the city of Omaha just embraces the event like no place I've ever been for a big sporting event like that. I mean, they built that ballpark specifically so they could make sure that event didn't get out of there. And so, if you walk, if you go straight, but look, all around the ballpark, there's fun bars, there's hotels, there's restaurants, all these things. I mean, that place is hopping with people. They got this amazing experience, like this college baseball. I don't know exactly what it's called, but I'll just call it the college baseball experience type of deal. And you can walk through. They've got all these different vendors in there. You can buy all this different gear from different places.
You want to pop in and look at, this certain glove, this Rawlings has a booth and this huge, and when I say booth, I mean this huge deal where you can go through and look at all these gloves. And, to me, as a guy who just loves baseball, I love all that stuff. Let me look at all these gloves that cost $400 that I don't play baseball, so I'm not buying a baseball glove. But like, I want to see them all. So like, but I do want to see all these hats and all these shirts and all this other stuff. You're walking through there, you're seeing all these players from all these different teams pop in and out. There's meet and greets with some former pros and all these other things. Like I said, look, you want to pop in there, take those Jello shots. You got to get you got to get down there, do all the Jello shots because you got to put more tallies on there for Louisville. Listen, it's Louisville. You can't get outdrank by somebody from Coastal Carolina. What are we doing? From Tucson? Have you been to Tucson? I've been to Tucson. You cannot get the people from Arizona cannot put more Jello shots up there. I've been to Tucson. It is a dump. A dump. And listen, I'm saying that with my chest. So anyone from Arizona, if you want to come talk to me and tell me that it's not a dump, try to convince me. Tucson, dump.
Okay,
Can't
so Tucson, Arizona, or South Bend, Indiana.
Well, South Bend is worse because the weather.
Yeah.
At least in
Yeah.
Arizona, it's warm. But I mean, like you pull off the interstate there. You drive down from. Here's the thing. I lived in Phoenix, so like going from Phoenix to Tucson, that's not really fair. But no, you cannot have more Jello shots from Tucson, Arizona, than from Louisville, Kentucky. That would be very embarrassing. So, but there's just so much there, and if you want to walk down past the ballpark and go down into kind of the downtown area. There's some great restaurants down there, some like little shops, there for because there's downtime obviously during the week. Got off days, got
Yeah.
all this stuff. Some beautiful spots down there. They've got a lot of the sidewalks are covered. They got some hanging flowers. Like it's gorgeous down there. You want to go the other way? You can do the walking bridge just like we have here in Louisville. That'll take you over into Iowa. But there's a lot of people that will stay in Iowa and then will walk over to the ballpark and stuff. I'm telling y'all, man, it is it's a once in a lifetime experience, and just like one of those things that I'm happy for the players to get to go and experience it in that way, but for the fans too, like it's a special place, man. And when you're in there, I mean, look, there's always a couple teams that go two and out, but it's still a special place to just be and watch your team and know, like, this is the same thing as going to the Final Four in basketball. It's the same thing as
Yeah.
going to the Frozen Four or for hockey or the college football playoff or whatever it may be. Like, this is the pinnacle when you're there. And so I'm telling y'all, man, make that drive, make that commitment. I think you could hop on. I don't know if it was only for season ticket holders or whatever, but I had the email if you wanted tickets or whatever. Um, you can find them on StubHub or SeatGeek or Game Time app or whatever it may be as the week goes on. If you didn't, if you weren't a season ticket holder and able to get them that way, so a lot of avenues to get tickets. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that you can buy. I think that the outfield is all GA. So if you just
I didn't know
wanted a
that.
GA ticket, I think you can get in the outfield and just get in there quick and try to find. That's what's actually kind of crazy. Like you see the people start to line up super early to try to run in there and get their seat for those GA tickets out in the outfield. So it's the best, man. Also, concessions are fantastic, and I just gotta be honest with you guys. The concessions are great. So you got it's that minor league ballpark feel in
Yeah.
terms of that kind of stuff. Just with a lot going on in entertainment. So I'm telling y'all, man, get out there, get out there. These boys need some support. So just would really encourage if you have the funds, if you're able to go, even if you're able to just go out for one game, you will not regret going. You will not regret going, even if you can go just for one game. It's awesome. I cannot wait. I'm ready to. I'm leaving Wednesday. I gotta do a bunch of laundry before I go, but ready to. I mean, what am I doing? I'm packing for like 2 weeks, maybe. I don't know. So, we'll see. We'll see what we can all fit in these bags. But I'm excited to get out there and just would really encourage others. If you can do it financially and figure it out with your jobs and stuff, you will never be disappointed that you went.
So we got a comment coming in that says something about the Omaha Village, and I'm not familiar with that, so I quickly Googled it, and it says you can head down there for frozen yogurt, freshly squeezed lemonade, lunch before, after the game. They got vendors selling tacos, burgers, chicken strips, barbecue. They've got T-shirt vendors. They're selling hats, all this stuff for all the teams that are out there. There's a beer garden with cold beer and TV. In the pictures of it, look like it's just a ton of fun. So it looks like, I think it's 21 over as the night goes on. It looks like, but it looks like wherever the Omaha Village is, looks like that is kind of the place to be. And if you need to fly, Sean put it here in the comments. This is from Lexington, but just a quick drive down 64. Looks like you can fly out to Omaha Friday morning at 7 on Friday, come back Sunday night at 11:45. So you'd be able to catch a Friday, Sunday. You'd be able to catch 2 games, and round trip flights $277. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, that's as somebody that we go to Disney like every other weekend, I feel like. So we're flying quite a bit. I can tell you that's a pretty reasonable flight. So there's different ways. Like Terry, like you said, I'll get behind the wheel of a car and I'll drive. I don't care. My wife is not that way. She would rather fly. I was like, I'd rather drive. I'll probably beat you there anyways. By the time you get to security and do all that stuff, I'm good. I'll hit all the Buc-ee's and do all that fun stuff on the way while you're in the air. So, but no, there's a lot of different creative ways you can do this. You can go out there for, like Terry said, go out for 1 game, fly out there, try to catch 2 games. If you have the luxury, if you work from home, maybe you can still work while you're out there a little bit in the hotel. Like there's many different ways you can try to make this work. And personally, I haven't been, but we're trying to see a way we can try to squeeze this in. So at least get out there and catch a game or 2, because I just want to experience Omaha. And I think my wife is trying to push it more than I am, because she knows how much I want to go, and I've always wanted to go. So she's trying to make it work as much as she possibly can. So shout out to her for trying to make this thing happen. That's right. But like Terry said, they're starting to throw some packages and stuff together. If you're a season ticket holder, you'll probably see those emails coming out. The gear, they're going to start hitting that stuff with you. I've seen some of it. It looks pretty good. I'm always curious to see what those designs are going to look like. So that stuff's popping out if you're somebody that wants to buy, the shirts or hats and all that good stuff. So you'll start seeing that stuff pop as well. So we plan, we'll come back at some point in time and do another episode probably before the World Series starts. We spent most of this time, talking about this past weekend and the Supers. But once we know kind of who we're going to play and when and where and all that good stuff, we'll probably hop back on and talk through that and get everybody prepared for College World Series, because it's a fun time. And I think I said last week, this people like you and I and many of our fans that do love college baseball, this is our Super Bowl. Like it doesn't get any better than the College World Series. And when your team is there, it just makes it that much sweeter. And it's been a hell of a couple of weeks, and hopefully we can keep this momentum going for a couple of weeks longer. So get that laundry done, get yourself packed up so you can head out to Omaha here in a short couple of days, and hope you have a long stay. I hope you're out there for an incredibly long time, because that means we will continue winning. So we'll be back. Like I said, Florida State just scored a couple more. It's 8-14, so it's in the 6th inning, so there's still time. It's not out yet, so keep an eye on that one as the night goes on. But like I said, we'll be back, talk about all things College World Series, and bring everybody up to speed on what's going on once the schedule and teams are confirmed. Like I said earlier, Terry's been putting all the videos out like he's done all year. I highly encourage you to go watch the 2 that he put out from recently about Coach Mack, and he's kind of dug into his personal life a little bit more, and I think all fans would probably appreciate just what he said and just his struggles over the past couple of years and how he's gotten through it. I think it's really good, not for fans, but just for people in general. So Terry, I know you're going to keep pushing content out, and I know you're going down there early to get some shots and talk to the coaches and players, and you'll continue doing that as this week goes on. So This is my favorite time. You get to plug yourself and kind of tell them where to find yourself, because I think you do a fabulous job, and they need to follow along with you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, you can find me on X at InsideVille BSB VILLE BSB. Yeah, just tweets every half inning basically. Been taking a lot more photos recently at games and finding myself in the camera well a little bit more. To be honest, I probably will do mostly camera well when I'm down there, just to be a little closer to the action and do some of that. I guess maybe it depends on if I can get my dad to go with me. Then I'd probably be in the stands a little bit more. Um, but yeah, I just appreciate everybody following along. I took so many photos today, so I got a lot of editing to do tonight and tomorrow. And just we'll continue to pop out photos of the game and of the post game celebration. Just so much fun stuff that we're able to get today. So it was really great. A lot of family things too. A lot of just great embraces I was able to catch with family, with kids with their moms and dads after winning. Like a lot of tears and just was really fun. So as far as the post game stuff, yeah, you can find it all on YouTube. I appreciate. I've definitely got some people to subscribe and things over the last couple of weeks, so you can find me on YouTube at Inside Louisville Baseball. Any video I make, I put right there. I would appreciate if you do subscribe and whatever. You don't have to. I mean, some people that's great too if you want to do that. If you don't, it's all good. I just appreciate the views. So, if you don't find it there, I always push them out on X as well and allow people to find them that way. So, just again, want to just say I'm just so thankful that people follow along with any of it, whether it's I don't even know what to call them on X anymore. I'll just say Twitter, whether it's the tweets or the people that watch the videos and any of that stuff. Like, I've gotten a lot more traction on some of these things over the last few weeks. Definitely as the team rolls, that makes tons of sense. So just really thankful for anyone that follows along. But I do want to say a sincere thank you to like these players. I'm sure not all of them watch and coaches. I know that they're not probably I don't want to say wasting their time, but they're not spending their time doing this. But for any parents or coach or however anybody, like anyone that follows along and watches and says hi and hey whatever thanks or what any of that stuff, I'm just so appreciative of these kids and these parents and these coaches for just like allowing me to be like a part of their life in this kind of way. Um, this is a special group, and they've been very accepting of me along the way. And it is like a family when you're with the same people 4 to 5 days a week, doing the same thing. And so um, it's it's very humbling to get thank yous from parents that do not need to thank me. I'm just trying to provide some sort of information to people who would want the information that I would want.
Yeah.
That's really all I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to support these boys. And so, just a sincere thank you. I love these kids. I love this program. And they deserve all of this and then some. And to Coach Mack, again, I know he doesn't do this with his time. He's got he's got other things he's doing, but like again, those guys, they're just so accepting of me. I'm sure that they would rather not sometimes. I'm sure there's games he'd rather not talk to me. Um, I'm sure maybe at a summer game, Coach Vrabel would not have me trying to pick his brain about some kid that we're watching. But they always make the time. And it says a lot about just who they are as guys. And if you do take the time, and I hope you do, Matt mentioned, talking about Coach McDowell. I know I'm talking longer. I was just going to talk about this, but just real quick for a second. The way Coach McDowell talked over the last couple weeks about kind of letting, like we talked about earlier, letting you behind the scenes a little bit. Those type of things, like just the type of man that Dan McDonnell is what drew me to this program in the first place. I am I mean, I went to a Christian high school. I went to a Christian university. I have my degree is in youth ministry. So when Dan McDonald starts talking about faith and things like that, those are. I mean, I was a high school track coach uh, because I wanted to try to impact kids' lives positively. It doesn't, you don't always have to be a positive. You don't have to be in church to be a positive influence or be a Christian influence on someone. And so I know this is not really what we talk about here very often. So I'm sorry if some people don't like this, but that's the type of thing that drew me to this program was the type of man Dan McDonnell is. That's just the facts. And he has continued to demonstrate. Look, that doesn't mean he does everything right. And he'd be the first one to tell you that. And that doesn't mean that every pastor in a church does everything right. You see that on the news sometimes. And so, but he tries his hardest. And let me tell you, there are a lot of kids on this roster whose faith journey in that type of way has been extremely impacted by the leadership of Dan McDonnell. That FCA program at Louisville is one of the best in the country. And there's a lot of baseball boys involved in that. You see them praying, before games, after games. I mean, those are just some of the kind of things that are not necessarily baseball things, but those are life things. And let's be honest, baseball's great, man, but that stuff's more important. And those are the things that I first loved about the program. The winning's awesome. Omaha's great. It's gonna be awesome this week, no doubt. But some of those things I think just can sometimes get overlooked. And I think Coach Mack has done a great job this week of like making sure let's keep the real thing sometimes in focus. And um, I thought that was great, and I just wanted to touch on that real quick because that's always impacted me, and I just love hearing him talk about that kind of stuff. He did today, he did last week, and so I just want to touch on that again. But anyway, okay, sorry.
I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit too. And I've never told many people this story. Kind of something that happened to me with one of the coaches here at the in the program. We've got a son, my wife and I do, that special needs, and he's 4. And it was a couple years ago. There was a post, and the coach or the coaching staff and the players had gone to. I don't remember exactly where it was at this point in time. I think they were on the road, if I'm not mistaken, but it was a children's hospital, or they'd gone somewhere where they were dealing with a population of children that were special needs. And I tweeted something about, this is what it's all about, like the wins, the losses. Like, I don't care about that stuff, but like when you see that kind of stuff, like just how much it impacts you, and like you can see what they're doing to build like men in their program. uh, and one of the coaches like messaged me directly on Twitter and was like, "Hey, like if you ever need anything, let me know. Like I'll help you take care of it." And this coach I didn't know. He's still a coach there. I'll say who it is. It's Eric Snyder. Um, he shoots me a message. He's like, "Whatever you need, let me know." I've never met Coach Snyder. Um, and like he took that time to reach out to me, and I think that just shows like the character of the coaching staff and the type of like player that they're building within their program. So just kind of piggyback off that, just something that personally like they were able to touch me to show like how it's not just about wins and losses to them. Like they really truly care about the people. Just wanted to piggyback off that as well, Terry, because I know you've probably seen it time and time again.
Yeah, when I first, again, I've said it before on here. I'm not from here, and so I'm not just this. I don't have Louisville, fandom running through my veins, and so, I don't know if you can see. I mean, there's a Michigan pennant hanging in here. I've got Tigers stuff. I mean that's where that's where I grew up, and my dad is a sports guy, right, and someone who that's what we loved in our house, right, was Michigan, we like Detroit teams and things like that. So when I came here as someone who loves sports, I was looking for some of that. What can I find here? And this might some people might not like me to say that, or there will be others that don't hold this opinion, and that's fine. But I could not just as a I don't want to say as a human, but just the way that I approach fandom, I couldn't root for Louisville with Bobby Petrino as the head coach. He's not a good dude. I mean, just he's not a good guy, and that's for me. That doesn't have to be for everyone. That's just me. However you want to fan is how you want to fan. That's what's awesome about being a fan. You can do whatever you want. But for me, that he wasn't gonna. I wasn't gonna root for a team that Bobby Petrino was heading. And again, this isn't gonna be popular, but I wasn't gonna be rooting for a team that was headed up by Rick Pitino. Not a good dude. I mean, great basketball coach, tremendous, one of the best that's ever lived. Not a good dude. And I'm not sure you could argue. You could, you might want to. You can't. Again, phenomenal basketball coach.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal. One of the best. Not good dude. And so that's just for me. And so when I was looking for that, Dan McDonald is that guy. And he also happens to be a great baseball coach. That's really what it is to me. He's a great example, leader, and human being, and he also happens to be a good baseball coach. That's how I looked at it, and that's what I was first, uh, I'll say, attracted to about the program. That's what I liked at the beginning, and so I think I did know that about the interaction with your son. I didn't know it was Coach Snyder, and I will tell you, I mean, these guys, like I said before, I see them out all summer. They've always been they're just genuine guys, man. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
who like care about people, and you have that, those interactions like that. He probably has no idea that that impacted you in that way,
Mm-mm. No idea.
and that's and that's what's great about it because he's not doing it in public for some sort of great example of, hey, everybody, look at what kind of guy I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's private, it's a DM, it's that type of thing of just like, hey, man, I'm here if, such and such. And that's how you know it's genuine. And that's how you know it's his real character. And this team is full of those type of coaches. It's also full of those type of guys who are just helping, like Cam Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, number one, Cam is a great dude, but number two, and I was super happy for him today also. But like his parent, if you ever met Cam's parents, you'll never meet two better people in your whole life. And so like it's just full of the team is full of those type of guys, and for them to be building, like you just said, men for later in life. Baseball ends, man. It comes to an end. Whether you're a pro or not, it finishes. And these guys have to be husbands, they have to be fathers, they're going to be boyfriends, they're going to work in different companies, whatever they're going to be in other locker rooms, and they're all going to represent Louisville in a positive manner, in a positive way, because that's being imparted to them from the top down. And that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier. But like, that's a great example, man. And like, I could talk about this for days. I'll be quiet, but just that's my favorite part of the program.
No, I was thinking the same thing. There's stories that I've heard from other people, and like you said, Coach Snyder, like he didn't, when he did reach out to me, he didn't retweet it and put it on his feed so everybody could see that. Oh, he's this great person that's saying, if you need something, reach out. No, it was direct. It was to me. I'm the only person that saw it, and this is really the only time I've talked about it. I'm outside of just talking to family about it. Other than that, so nobody knew. But I think it's good for people to see like that those types of things are going on and what the coaching staff is kind of doing behind the scenes. So we could talk about that stuff like you said for hours because there's examples all over the place, up and down the coaching staff, up and down the roster, But we just hit 1,000 people in here tonight, which is insane. It shows. When Louisville continues to win and continues to go on this run, obviously the fan support continues. Hopefully that alludes to more ticket sales. Hopefully, the more ticket sales we can get from this, the more buildings that can get built and facilities that can start going up around the stadium. So I appreciate everybody hopping on and going down this journey with us. It's been a lot of fun. I know Terry, I'm speaking for both of us, but I think we've really enjoyed, obviously on the field, the success that we've seen, but just, kind of doing these lives and stuff and interacting with fans. When you were talking, I was trying to go through comments tonight, and across the couple different platforms we're on, it looks like we're over 50 comments, which is, that's a lot for us, for us to, two guys talking about Louisville baseball. We appreciate everybody wherever you're coming from, listen to it. So it's you don't go unnoticed. We appreciate everything. Like Terry said, if you're on Apple Podcasts, if you're on Spotify, YouTube, whatever you are, share it, tell your friends, family. We appreciate that. The bigger the reach, the better for us. So we're going to keep this thing rolling into Omaha. We'll be back later this week. But in the words of Sean Moth, we will see you at the ballpark.